morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a little bit of a look at all the fighting Pokemon from Pokemon Sword and Shield that we have yet to have a chance to have a gander at, or a talk about. One that have so far flown just a little bit under the radar. And we've got 5 of them to talk about, so let's get crack-a-lacking straight away with a look at Sudowoodo. I should mention all of our translations here come from the lovely David Hockman over at limitlesstcg.com/translations, and we love David. I love David. And actually, right, we're starting off with a pretty nice one. This Sudowoodo's pretty good. 100 HP on a basic, alright, that is a bit lower than we might like. We're used to things like Zapdos having 110, and there's plenty like Hooper that have more. Bad start. The retreat cost of 1 is quite nice because of the whole U-turn board thing. But really, it's the attacks here. 1 colourless energy, draw 2 cards. That's kind of cool. Like, in terms of Pokemon that draw cards, this is a very, very nice option indeed. Now, it is an inferior option to Persimmon, but it's for a colourless energy. Persimmon does 20 damage while drawing 2 cards, so I ain't going to sit here and tell you that this is better than Persimmon. This ain't better than Persimmon, but you know what? If you're not playing fighting energy, Persimmon isn't an option. So who really cares? The problem is we've got Kangaskhan. And I'm sitting here having a little bit of a look through all the Pokemon we've got that draw 2 cards. And okay, here's what I'm going to say. Kangaskhan's got a high retreat cost, but it's only 2, and we do have Balloon nowadays, which would give it free retreat. But then it's 130 HP, and it's got the same draw 2 cards attack. Plus, if you're playing tag team Pokemon, this can do a lot of damage with the second attack. Again, I'm not saying that I don't like Sudowoodo. I am saying there are other options. But 1 colourless energy, Flail, this attack does 10 damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. That's good. And this is what the other draw 2 Pokemon don't have. Kangaskhan doesn't have a nice easy attack like this. Persimmon doesn't have a nice easy attack like this. And that's why I actually genuinely like Sudowoodo. I'm not saying it's some phenomenal card, but I'm saying it sits there in the early game as a basic with a low retreat. You draw 2 cards, turn after turn after turn, and if your opponent doesn't one-hit KO, if they do 60 damage, you do 60 back. If they do 90 damage, you do 90 back. As a starting Pokemon out in the early game, I like Sudowoodo. I could see it seeing some play. But as much as I like this Pokemon, and I do, incidentally, I am a big fan of this Pokemon. This Pokemon is an awful lot of fun. But we need to move on and have a little bit of a look at Dugtrio. I like Dugtrio. Just like as a Pokemon, Dugtrio's always been one I like. And this one's weirdly kinda good. 1 fighting energy, 60 damage. That's it. It's a 90 HP Pokemon, which is low for a stage 1, incidentally. With 1 retreat cost that does 60 for 1 fighting energy. But we all know by now that with fighting Pokemon, it's not 60 for 1 energy. Because you're probably going to have a Diancie Prism Star on the bench. So now that 60 for 1 energy becomes 80 for 1 energy. And if you're behind on prizes, you use Martial Arts Dojo, and that 60 becomes 100. So it adds 10 if you're not behind on prizes, 40 if you are. But you're still going to have Diancie Prism Star, so actually now you're doing 120 for a single energy. And if you're hitting weakness, that's 240, and oh look, Silvally GX getting KO'd in a single hit. Or Snorlax V getting KO'd in a single hit. Do please bear in mind that Snorlax V Max will still be miles away. You need to get up to 170 to one-hit KO that with weakness. And we could even mention Vitality Band here. Just does an extra 10. So now all of a sudden you're not doing 60 for 1 energy. If you're behind on prizes, you're actually doing 130 damage for a single energy. Well, that, ladies and gentlemen, makes one whole heap of a difference. And here's the thing, right? I was a big fan of the Dugtrio from X and Y. It was a decent Pokemon. that saw a little bit of play and made its way into a bunch of decks, and the Dugtrio from X and Y had 90 HP and a retreat cost of 1. Nobody used Rock Tumble, so really it just had Earthquake that did 60 damage for 1 fighting energy, plus 10 to each of your benched Pokemon. And at the time we had stuff like Zekrom and Reshiram and Kyurem, so we would actually just get a whole bunch of damage on our bench Pokemon so that we could then outrage with all of our Pokemon and hit for a bunch of different weaknesses. It was fun! I like this Dugtrio. I don't think it's particularly stunning. I don't think it's going to change the meta, although I love the artwork. But what I do think is going to happen is that firstly, it's going to be an absolute beast at pre-releases. And secondly, I think this is going to make its way into a few decks, especially when we've got some nice ways to add a little bit of damage that we're doing here. Go Dugtrio. But I've had enough Dugtrio, ladies and gentlemen. I want to talk about Mudsdale. Now, this is a stage 1 with 150 HP, which is huge, incidentally. Stage 1's generally on the higher end. We're talking stuff like Naganadel has 130. 150 for a stage 1 is huge. Now, the retreat cost of 3 sucks because it's high, but it's not high enough to use something like buff padding. Boo! And we got 1 attack. Free fighting energy, flip 2 coins. This attack does 120 damage for each heads that you flipped. No! This is terrible! You've got essentially a 50% chance of doing 120, a 25% chance of doing nothing, and then you do have a 25% chance of hitting 240. And remember that with all of these extra fighting tricks we've got, I mean, let's say you've got Diancie Prism Star and a Martial Arts Dojo and you're not behind on prizes. Double heads means you're hitting 270. And 270 is enough to get the vast majority of your tag team GXs. Things like Mewtwo and Mew, things like Reshiram and Charizard. I mean, Gardevoir and Sylveon, you only need Diancie Prism Star, you don't even need the Martial Arts Dojo, and you'll be hitting 260. With weakness, double heads will easily get Snorlax V Max. You can be KOing a whole bunch of free prize Pokemon with this attack. So why don't we like it again? Well, there's 2 reasons we don't like this attack. Reason number 1, it's flippy. Yes, if you flip double heads, you'll be KOing a bunch of free prize Pokemon. But let's not sleep on the fact that I said, if you can flip double heads. How often do you flip double heads? The answer, incidentally, is exactly 1 in 4 times. Time was we had Victini, we don't anymore, so it is a true 50-50 chance. And honestly here, I mean, how are you getting the energy on? We don't have good energy acceleration for fighting at the moment. We got Groudon. Sure, if you're behind on prizes, we've got Karate Belt. So Karate Belt can be one of the energy, and then you attach an energy for the turn, and then you're still an energy short. Good work, people. And that's kind of my point here. It's just not good enough. I love the idea of a non-GX 150 HP stage 1 hitting for 240. That makes me delighted. But having to somehow get free energy on there and then flip double heads, yeah, sure, when it works, it's phenomenal. When it works. But we've still got our very first ever non-GX Stonjourner to talk about. Surely this can help us out. Nope. Don't like it. Basic Pokemon, 120 HP, and really, Stonjourner's got less than Hooper. I'm going to be honest, I've not looked up the video game stats. That could be a really dumb point to make. But the point is, as a big thing of Stone, I would expect it to at least be at 130. So we're not loving all of this. And the attack, 2 fighting energy, 70 damage is underwhelming. Oh, but there's a little bit of text. Maybe that text makes the attack better. It doesn't. You do 10 damage to yourself. Now, I just don't like this. Bearing in mind, I just showed you a Dugtrio that for 1 energy does 60 with no downside. 2 energy, 70 with a downside. No. No. I'm not loving it. Stonjourner V is a Pokemon that I adore. It's a Pokemon from Sword and Shield that I am really genuinely looking forward to getting down and starting to make some decks with. But Stonjourner from the V decks, I am finding it very, very difficult to get any kind of enthusiasm going for a Pokemon that cannot muster more than 70 damage for 2 energy on 120 HP basic. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. But I do like the Sudowoodo and I do like the Dugtrio. And if you can get the energy on Mudsdale and flip heads, we're golden. But that is a very big if. So now, ladies and gentlemen, it's over to you. I want to know what you think about all of these cards. I want to know which of these you think could be really good. I want to know which of these you think are just not going to be good enough. Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where you can find out about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but are still pretty gosh darned awesome. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.